Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Teresa from Teresa's Silhouette Spot for all things art, where I love sharing art from my heart. Welcome, 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 everyone. Tonight we are painting the floral bee. Thank you for joining me, and we will get started. I have put out my paint colors already, and I have my palette all set up. I always say these are suggested colors. So if there's colors you don't like or colors you don't have, feel free to use what you have on hand or your favorite colors. I have out, there's a little cafe latte. It's a little bit darker than tan. So if your tan is lighter, that's okay. I will just use more white. I have white. I have this light green. In this case, it's light avocado. I have burgundy wine. Not burgundy wine. Berry wine, yellow ochre, and black. Okay. And then I have a liner brush because I always have a liner brush. But in this case, I have like a 1/2 inch flat brush. It's about a 1/2 inch. And then I have a smaller round brush. I have my tracer, some tracing paper. If you don't have graphite paper, that's fine. I'll show you another trick. And I have my canvas. I have traced my canvas already, but I will walk you guys through the steps anyway. If you have any questions while we're doing this, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. I'm here to help. I want you guys to be successful and happy with your project, and we will get started. So I'm going to change my camera right now and hit my overhead, and we will do it. Okay, so like I said, I already traced my canvas, but I'm going to show you guys anyway. So I have my tracer. You want to line it up as best you can, as evenly as you can. I usually eyeball it. If you're concerned, you can use a ruler, but I think eyeballing it is okay. And then you want to tape a section of it down, okay? And then I use this graphite paper. As you see, I have used this graphite paper over and over and over and over again. It doesn't matter that it has all these lines on it. It works just as well, and it lasts a long time. So you want to then slip your graphite paper between your surface, and in this case, it's a canvas, and your tracer. And I just slide it in there, okay. And then I go over the outline. I use this little, guess what it's called? This little pointer thing, it's metal. You can use this, you can use a pen, you can use a pencil, you can use the back of a narrow brush, whatever it is, and you want to outline all the lines. Sometimes with the elements like the flowers and the leaves, when I come in here, I will tend to trace them a little bit smaller, because when you're going into paint, and especially for painters that are new, if you like paint this element and you're like, ooh, let me fix it. Ooh, 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 ooh. Before you know it, your element, your flower, your leaf, whatever has grown. So I always suggest to trace them a little bit smaller, because you can always go bigger, okay? So we want to trace all our lines in here, including the legs. And his head, and the little rest of the head up there, and our leaves and our flowers, okay? If you are watching this on video, feel free to pause and get caught up to get yours all traced in, and we will get started painting. Wait a second, first I'm going to show you another way how to, if you don't have graphite paper, but I suggest investing in a few, but you can get it on Amazon or Michael's, and all you need is a couple of sheets. Another way you can do this is to take a pencil. Well, it's a little bit more time consuming. You want to take the pencil on the side, and you want to scribble on the back of your tracer on all the lines. Like I said, it's a little bit time consuming, but it works. You scribble, scribble, scribble on the back on all the lines of the entire tracer. And then you would flip this over, and without graphite paper, you would line this up again, and then you would do the same exact thing, tracing all your lines. And what happens is the pencil marks from the back of your paper and your tracer transfer to your surface. Okay. I'm going to put this aside for now. So in this case, and it'll probably be the same thing with the, if you join me for the if you join me for the butterfly or the dragonfly. So this is the first in the series. I'm going to be doing a butterfly and a dragonfly. A good thing to do is either paint in your legs and your antenna first, or use a Sharpie, or go back over them with pencil, something so that they stand out, because when we do our base coat, you're going to see why I said that. So you either want to use a Sharpie, a pencil, and go over your lines, or paint them in once, and then we'll go back in and paint them in again when we do the design. Okay, I put my palette back out here. And we're going to get started on our background. I need a couple of paper towels. And I'm going to load my brush with this white. And I want to get a good amount of paint in my brush. And I do that. I don't stick right into the middle of the pot in the puddle. I kind of go out to the side. I put a little pressure on my bristles, because we want our bristles to get nice and filled up with the paint. And then, like I said, I'm going to use way more white than my tan, because my tan is a little bit dark and I want my background to be light. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to pick up some of this tan. I'm going to pick up a little bit more white, and I'm going to get a mixture on my brush for now, just to start. And I like that color. And then I'm going to be using mostly white. Okay. When I do my backgrounds, I often, oh, I forgot this line. I often paint. There we go. The way I color. And that is to say, I like to outline. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start outlining all the big elements of my painting. So that would be the wings. That would be his body. Or her body. And then this way, as we paint, our eyes will automatically get drawn to where we need to paint. And then I'll show you exactly how we're going to be filling in the background. So now up in there, got a little bit dark. So I'm going to just come in here and pick up some more white and lighten that up just a little bit. And this is why I said, if you can darken up your legs and your antenna, because we're going to paint right over them. We're not going to worry about going around little skinny antenna and little skinny legs. Okay, so now I have everything outlined. So now I'm going to go back in. I have a generous amount of white, pick up a little bit of my light tan on the corner of my brush, and I'm just going to start making little X's. And when I do my X's, I usually do them 2 at a time. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We don't want to overblend. We want to see a difference in color. We want to see some variations. I'm just pulling it out to the side here. And that's what I keep doing. I'm just doing X's. And if your hand wants to do a little bit more of a swoosh than an X, that is your style and that is your brain telling you that you're more of a swooshy than an X, and that's okay. We just want some variation on the background of our design. We don't want it to be all one color. We don't want it to be, you know, flat. We want it to have some variation and some dimension. So you'll see I'm just making these little X's and I'm working in sections as I work way around the whole painting. And I keep picking up, for you guys, if you have a very light tan or the light linen, you can scoop some white and some linen at the same time. I have to pick up and mix my paint because I have my linen or my light tan that I'm using is a little bit dark and I want my background a little bit lighter. So that's why I am mixing paint. But if you have a nice tan and the white, you just want to pick up your tan and your white at the same time and make your X's. Don't worry if you get a little bit on your wings or a little bit onto your bumblebee body. It's totally okay. This is just the background. These paintings are a process, and what might be drawing your attention now, you won't even see when you're all done. So if you're like over here, ooh, I went out of the line here a little bit. Don't fret. It's okay. You'll see when we get done, and you'll be like, where was that spot that I was worried about? And you won't even be able to see it. Or you know what? You might still be able to see it, but in the whole big scheme of things, and once you have all your details in, and your flowers painted in, and your leaves painted in, that minor little thing over there is not going to matter. So we try to be neat, but like I said, it doesn't, it's okay if you crisscross a little bit into one of your wings or your body or his head or whatever. And don't forget, if you're watching this on the replay, that is the beauty of having a video, because you can pause it and get caught up and paint at your own pace. And again, I'm back up here around his head, and I'm just doing these X's. Oops, picked up a little too much dark again. Isn't that weird? What is it about this corner where I just keep picking up too much dark? I don't know. And there we go. So I'm also going to take, while I have my paint out and I have it on this brush, I'm going to go around and I'm going to paint my edges. Sometimes, and if you follow me on YouTube or you've seen some other of my paintings, depending on the style of the design that I'm working on, I will go around and put some really fun, colorful, quirky type borders on my canvas border. But for this instance, in this design, I just wanted to just wrap around just like the background. So while I have my brush and I'm using my paint and I'm just filling in my background, I mean my border with my paint and my painty brush already. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just chime right in. I'd be happy to go over whatever it is that you might be struggling with, or something that you think you might want to adjust. I hate to say the word fix. I'd rather use the word adjust, because art is very subjective. And even though sometimes we're our own worst critics and we think we have to fix it and, oh no, look, I ruined it. You didn't. And maybe we just have to adjust it a little bit, tweak it. But I really don't like to use the word fix, because art can't be wrong. It's art. Okay, so I have my background all done. I put in my X's and we are ready to go. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to put out a little bit more fresh white. Put it over here. I'm going to clean my brush. When I clean my brush and swish it around in my water cup or my water bowl, whatever it is, I like to have my paper towels handy. And then I like to squeeze it in my paper towel like this. This way, you're kind of making sure that there's no water stuck up in here, that when you go to paint, the water is going to run out and blob on your painting, okay? So we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to fill in the background for our leaves. Oh, wait, no, before we do that, you know what? I'm going to do the white. Let's just pick up white. And we're going to fill in the white sections of our canvas around our flowers and our leaves. And again, this is just background. We're going to add our leaves and our flowers, so that does not have to be perfect. It really doesn't have to be perfect, because our canvas is in fact already white. Some people would leave the canvas white. I prefer to paint it. I just feel like it gives your painting a more finished look. But again, this does not have to be perfect. We just want to go around our flowers and our leaves and just get a little bit of white onto the background of these sections of our bumblebee that are going to basically stay white, or really just not be painted black. So a little bit there, and there we go. Okay. So now I'm going to pick up white. And it's kind of like a scoop when I do this. Pick up some white and then come over here and pick up some green. And I got a pretty good amount of paint on this brush.
Is that a flat brush?
This is a flat brush. It's a flat brush. It's about a ½ inch. Okay. Yep. I will mostly be using a flat brush and then this small round brush. I have a liner brush too, only because I tend to favor a liner brush. But for beginners, a round brush is much easier to use. Okay, so now again, I have this white and green on my brush. I'm going to kind of wipe it off a little bit. And the same like I did for the background, I'm going to start by outlining my wings. And I'm using the brush, if you can see, I'm using the brush when I do the outline, standing up on the chisel edge. And then I'm going to come in here with the flat part of the brush and just blend in the green and the white. If you want your wings darker, by all means, pick up some more green. If you want your wings lighter, mix more white. It's totally up to you. I just scooped up a little bit more green and white. And I'm coming in here. And I'm just giving a nice mixture for my wings. And I'm going to keep going and do this little one now, the same thing. I'm standing my brush up on the chisel edge, and I'm doing the outline. I'm going to pick up a little bit more green, a little bit more white, and I'm just going to fill this part in. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, I'm standing up. I'm doing an outline. And this is just the way I paint. Oh, my neighbor's dog is barking. Hope that doesn't bother you guys. This is just the way I paint. If you choose not to do the outline first, that's okay. There's no right or wrong. It's just how I do it. It's how I've always done it. It's how I've always created art. It's how I color. I still love to color. And it's just like my thing. If it's something that feels awkward to you, then by all means, fill this in any way you prefer. And I like having both colors on my brush at the same time. I try to keep the dark to the outside with the lighter to the inside. And we like a nice mixture of color and variation. If you want to blend colors, you want your paint to be wet. If you want to tweak something, you want your paint to be 100% dry. And sometimes that means being very, very patient. I know that could be hard for some of us. I have a hair dryer and a heat gun that I keep underneath my painting station here, because sometimes I'll have to get those out because I'm not patient enough to wait and watch paint dry. But yeah, so if you want to blend, you want your surface paint and the paint on your brush to be wet. If you want to fix things, tweak things, adjust things, you want to really let it sit, dry, be patient, and then come back to it. So I'm going to switch brushes now because my 1/2-inch brush, I think, is too big for my leaves. So I'm going to put that in water and I'm going to get out my round brush. And I'm going to do the same thing with my round brush as we did with the flat brush. I'm going to dip it in some green and I'm going to dip it in some white. It's not as neat because it's not a flat brush, but you still get both colors on your brush. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to start filling in my leaves. Want a little bit more green. And for now with our leaves, these are basically leaves. I always say like leaves that we kind of drew in elementary school. Where they just have the one curve and then the bottom curve, and then you fill them in. If you feel like your green or whatever color you're working on is getting too blendy and just one shade, you can wipe off your brush, or you can just pick up the dark or go pick up the white or whatever it is you want. If you want to darken it up or lighten it up, whatever you want to do. So this one I thought was a little light. So I just put my little tip of my brush into the dark green and just added some dark green to my leaves. Okay. Then I'm going to take the same, this is my dirty brush. It's got the green and the white on it. And I just want to gently go in here and put in some of these taps. So I'm going to pick up some more green, some more white. We just want to put in a little bit of color to our background. You can leave yours white if you want. I like how it looks with these dots. And I'm just being random. I know it's hard to be random. Can you see a little bit of glare there? I know it's hard to be random sometimes. And I'm just putting these in. Just trying to dress up our white space. Okay. And then I'm going to wash my brush again. And the same thing with this. I'm just going to take out my paper towel. I'm going to give it a nice squeeze so I don't have water dripping out. Now, this is a personal choice for you for the head. You can stick with your round brush if you want, and you can do it the same way we did the leaves, or you can use the 1/2-inch flat brush or whichever flat brush you are using. You might be using a smaller one. I wouldn't go with for an 11 by 14. I wouldn't go with a bigger brush than this, but you could go with a smaller one if you wanted to. And now we're moving on to our white. And in this case, it's yellow ochre. It's more like a golden yellow as opposed to a bright yellow. And I've put one corner in the golden color and one corner in the white, scoop. And I have both colors on my brush. And we're going to work on his head. Now this is little short strokes. And again, I'm working on the outline part, but instead of doing the whole outline, I'm working my way around the head. I'm going to pick up some more gold. I'm going to pick up some more white, just scooping it up with the corners. And I'm working my way around. And I'm always, always moving my project. That's why you will rarely see me painting on an easel. Scoop up gold, scoop up yellow. And now we're going to work our way in with these little short, almost like comma strokes. You want to apply some pressure to your brush and work your way around. Scoop, scoop, and work your way in. And can you see I'm pushing on my brush? Scoop, scoop. I'm pushing, but I'm just making these short commas, apostrophes, whatever. And I'm working my way into the center of the flower. And when I run out of paint, I just pick up a little bit more on the corners of my brushes. And now I'm just going to go in and fill in the center. And we have our bee's head. I have a little globby up here, so I'm just going to swish that in a little bit. You could leave it, it's all fine. There we go. Okay. And then since I was using the flat brush, I'm going to put that back in water. I'm going to go back to my round brush. But if you were using your round brush, you can stick with your round brush, because now we're going to work on our gold flowers, and we're going to do this one gold, and this one gold, or yellow, whichever. It's like a golden mustardy yellow. I kind of messed up my white on that side, so we're going to go on this side. I'm going to pick up some gold, and I'm going to pick up some white with the same brush. And again, it's messy on there. We don't want to overblend. We don't want to, have one color like I did with my tan. We want both of those just kind of thick on there. And we're going to do our flowers. We're going to do our big our little flowers on the body the same way we did his head, flower, body up there, okay? With little short strokes. And we want to imagine that this flower is round, even though it's going off his body a little bit. And I'm just doing little comma strokes as if they continued around. Okay, this one will be a little easier to do because it is in fact round. So I'll show you. Little stroke, little stroke, little stroke, little stroke. And then I start working from the other side. Pick up some more white and gold. And then do our little strokes as we work our way into the inside of our flower. Sometimes I go counterclockwise, sometimes I go clockwise. And again, down here, this is another little half one, but I'm still just doing little layering, tiny little comma strokes. And this one kind of got lightened up, a lot of blending going on my brush. So I just picked up some fresh mustard, gold color, yellow, and just added that in on top. And we have our yellow flowers in there. And again, I'm going to rinse my brush. Sticking with the same brush, we're going to do these two flowers now with our berry wine or our burgundy red, whichever color you have, and white. Same exact technique. Want to pick up some of the burgundy. Want to come over here and we want to pick up some of our white. If you wanted to make us put out fresh white, that's okay too. Have burgundy and white mixed up all in here on my brush. And I'm going to start down here. Little short comma strokes. Following the curve of our flower. And again, I have a little too much white. So all I did was stick the corner of my brush, the little tip of the brush into the berry wine and add a little bit of dark to that. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Go back to my berry wine, go back to my white. When they're bigger flowers, you can kind of see how I do the little strokes. And you want to imagine this is an entire round flower, even though we're just doing a section of it. And you want to picture that the curves would be continuing, even though we can't see it, it's cut off. We want to pretend or use our mind's eye to imagine the round continuing on, like up here. So say we're just looking at like this section of that flower, like a pie section. So we want these to be round little comma strokes too, but we're not seeing the whole flower. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. And again, I am washing my brush. Okay. Got it all nice and dry. Oh, you guys, wait till when we add, we're going to add now our antenna on our legs, and you're going to see how all of a sudden it's just going to pop to life, our floral bumblebee here. So I'm using my round brush. I want to just put it in the side of my black. I want to twirl it a little bit because I want to have a nice point on my round brush. I have a loose hair on my brush, which is going to irk me. So I'm going to cut it. You'd be surprised, one loose hair. Imagine if you had one hair on your head and it was like boinging out. You'd be like, oh, my hair is a mess. It's the same thing with the paintbrush. So again, I'm going to twirl it. If you need to get some scrap paper or copy paper, whatever it is, and have it out next to you and practice a light touch and doing a line with the round brush or a liner brush, go right ahead. Because sometimes this can be a little tricky. However, this is not the final step. And when you see, we're going to go in and add a little bit of white at the end. If your lines are a little bit fat in places, don't worry. We're going to fix that right up. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do my antenna. Now, if you saw, I don't know if you can see, but I ran out of paint. So I just fixed it. I'm going to do my other antenna. And then I'm going to do the two legs. So there we go. And this is why we darken them up. And this is why we didn't really care, because we're coming back in here and going over them with the paint anyway. So I don't know if you noticed, like this leg got a little thick. I'm not going to worry about that right now because we're going to go back and add highlights. And when we add our highlights, it's going to thin up any lines that we may have thought were too thick in the beginning. And it helps to do this part when your background is dry. So if you need to rest your hand on your painting, you can, because you have a lot more control when you can rest your hand down on the surface or on your painting or something. And I'm going to continue on with the black. So we're going to do this part of the head. So I guess for our bumblebee, this is the head and this big part is the body, right? Did we all learn that in biology class? Should we remember that? I don't know. And we're going to fill that in. And again, if you, we're going to be doing the black segment parts on his body. Feel free to use your flat brush or this round brush. It's up to you. I'm going to stick with the round brush. Okay. Look how he's just coming to life now, you guys. So again, it doesn't matter what I'm working on, what part, what segment, what section. I always like to outline first. And this was another reason why I said, don't worry if when you're doing your background, you cross over the line a little bit or you get some in there. By the time we add in our flowers and our leaves and do the black sections, and then we do the little dots for some decoration and some variation on the body, you're not going to see where you may or may not have gone over the line. Again, my painting is fairly dry, so I can rest my hand on the background. If you notice, when I'm actually tracing some lines and I'm trying to concentrate and go straight, I stop talking a little bit. Put my hand in the paint there. I don't mind getting my hand in the paint, but I don't want to then spread it to the rest of my project. And I'm just filling in these black sections with black paint. And like I said, you can use your flat brush if you want, or this round brush. I will say these little round brushes, because they're littler, they don't hold as much paint as like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch flat brush will. So you have to go back for more paint more often, but that's okay. Okay, and now I'm just going to do this little tiny section on the bottom. There we go. Get that all filled in. Alrighty then. Look how cute you guys. Oh, I shouldn't have washed my brush. Sorry. I'm gonna wipe that off real quick. Okay. We're gonna stick with our black. And again, we want to use it with a little bit of a twirl, so it has a little bit of a point. And we're going to start adding centers to our flowers. Okay. And again, we're going to be random. Sometimes it's hard to be random. I used to find it very difficult to be random. We just want to tap that in the centers of our flowers. And some of the taps can be bigger, some of them can be smaller. And we are going to do this for all our flowers. Just be careful though, because some of them, like this one, you have to kind of visualize where the center of your flower is. So because this one is round, we know the center of our flower is in the middle. But because we have this pie shape here, and it's basically maybe 1/4 of a flower, we want to do our center more up in here. Okay. And the same thing for this one. We want to pretend like the center of our flower is over there. And then this is another fairly easy one because this one's mostly round. And we're going to put the center of our flower down in here. And this, I'm just tapping in some little black dots using the round brush. Nothing perfect about them. And while we still have some black on our brush, we're just going to gently outline the bottoms of our leaves to make it like a shadow. Okay. There we go. So we've done the antenna, the legs, we filled in all the black sections. Now we did the dots for the center of our flowers. And then I just went in and I put a little black line underneath our leaves to give it like a shadow. Continuing on with our black, going to start adding some outlining in. And so when we do our outlining, we can do it in one swoop, and we can try and be neat and connect our whole line perfectly around, or you can do it like I'm doing here, and I'm just doing little choppy lines, maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch long as I go around. And I'm going to do the same thing on the wings. If you feel comfortable enough, you can just go and do your whole wing. I'm going to do these little choppy lines. I actually think these little choppy lines go pretty well with the boho floral feeling of this design. And I'm just going to do all the sections of all our leaf wings. And you'll see why I keep calling them leaf wings, because we're going to add some details. It's going to make our wings look more like leaves, hence the name Floral Bee. Okay. I'm going to come over here to the other side, pick up a little bit more black paint, and I'm just gently outlining. Like I said, if you are a more skilled painter, you can just take your liner brush or your round brush and go right around the entire outline. Look how our wings now just totally pop. There we go. Then I want to give a little bit of an illusion to like there's movement. So I'm just going to add a few lines around. Almost like the wings are fluttering, the legs are moving. He's in flight. If you do these a little too dark, you can always go back and fix it with your background color. And goes back and touch it up with a little bit of your background color, or the tan or the white, depending on where it was. Okay, that's it. Just want a little bit of movement going on in there with our Floral Bee. I'm going to keep with the white, and we want to now add a little bit of background, a little bit of outline to the white sections of his body. There we go. And now I am going to wash my black brush. Squeezing it. Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna go back to our white. If you need to put out fresh white, go ahead. I'm just gonna kind of like take from the middle of my pile here. Move it over a little bit. Okay. And now this is how we're going to do our wings. We're going to make them look like leaves. So you know how leaves have veins? So we're going to just add a little bit of a white line. And then we're going to add a little bit of the veins. And you do that by making V's. So I pull a little bit of a, I'll show you up here. So I'm going to do this line up in here. Okay. And then you want to pick branches off. And then there's a V. There's a V. There's a V. And these little lines could wiggle a little bit. They don't have to be totally straight. So you want to be kind of loose. And just branch out. Keep making V's off the top of them, like that. I'll show you again on here. So again, I'm going to pull this middle line. It does not have to be straight. And I'm going to lightly make branches off of here. They don't have to be even, no rhyme or reason to them. Okay. And then I'm going to go here. I'm just going to make V's off of them. And again, the last big one up here. Almost like it's a tree. I don't know if you look at leaves, the veins in leaves almost look like branches on trees. And I'm just making little, depending on how much room I have, I can do it on the top. I can fill another one in there. There we go. And then I just want to start adding some highlights to my bee. I'm going to put a little swish up there. I like to put a little swish, a big one and a little one on his big sections, and then a little one down there. I'm going to take some white and I'm just going to randomly, again, there's that word random, add some white to his legs. Add a little bit of white to the antenna. And then I added the white to the top of his head and his middle sections. I'm going to add a little bit of white to the black where we outlined it. There we go, just a little bit. There we have it. There is our floral bee. What a beauty, huh? Let me change my camera around. Voila. The color on my camera when I use my computer is a lot different than the color. So you guys might have thought my colors were off when I use my overhead camera. I don't know why that is, but there it is. This is the first one I painted. And this is the second one I painted. Similar, but not the same. You can put your initials on the bottom. You can put your date on the bottom if you want. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this class. Don't forget to follow me on Teresa's Spot for all things art. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is the Floral Bee, and I will be coming up with, watch for my events, because we will be doing the floral butterfly and the floral dragonfly. Make a set of 3 for these guys. Thanks, everyone. I enjoyed painting with you, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.